Mm, New day. Mm. New day, new way. Turn it up, leaning 15 minutes. Let the change begin. Busy life, big dreams, so much noise in your ears. We cut straight through, make the next step clear. Thought for Thursday, real talk, real tools right now. In 15 we move the dial, simple steps, strong moves. You'll see how. Thought for Thursday, clarity that sticks. You'll feel it from insight to action, and impact that stays. Thought for Thursday, let's change a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thought for Thursday. On this Thursday evening of the first week of June, I guess we can say that summer, well, no, and I guess it hasn't officially begun. However, we are closer now than we ever have been, right? So I'm excited that you all are here. Welcome. As you know, we have been talking about a major shift probably easily for the past couple of months. And we are not stopping tonight because we are talking about the identity shift. I've introduced you to the entire concept of what it means and how all of this works and the four pillars. And in the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about some really important years. And what are those years? Those years are your power years. Those years are right now. Those are the years that you are working through, living in, moving throughout right now. These are probably some of your most powerful years, some of the probably largest space of time that you may have to actually move on some things that you have been sitting on for quite some time. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Last week, we talked about how is it that you know when you're in your power years? And we talked about some very specific things. And I want to encourage you to go back and watch that podcast, which you could catch on the CTR Media Network on YouTube under the Jolie's Enterprises channel, under Leveling Up the Podcast and Thought for Thursday. We also released a new podcast this week, the longer version that you will find on Leveling Up the Podcast. And we are talking to Jennifer Lovick Marshall as a part of the Journey Share series. So definitely go out and watch that. Watch it, like it, give us your feedback because we want to know how it is making a difference in your life. However, definitely go back, watch last week, as I mentioned, Thought for Thursday. And this week, I want you to listen in as we talk about what life looks like. What is it that things, or what things actually happen? The shift that happens when you actually say yes and move in your power years. Let's talk about that for just a bit. So, um, last week again were the five signs that your power years are calling. And tonight we're flipping things a bit. We're talking about what happens on the other side, what actually shifts when you step into those power years. Because I want to see where you are going, not just where you are right now, which is important. As you know, that is the first stage in moving, in shifting, in changing, is to understand exactly where you are now. That is the first pillar in the process. So tonight, let's look at what it looks like when you're actually moving, when you're actually stepping out and deciding this is the time for me to do some things, to actually move out on some things that I may have been thinking about for quite some time, that I may just be discovering needs to be done, or some things that you have planned for, decided that, in this period, you're definitely going to do them, whatever the situation is. Let's take a look at what it looks like to actually move in those power years. So, what does it look like? The first thing is you stop managing other people's comfort and you start honoring your own calling. All right. So, again, we're talking about what happens on the other side of actually leaning into those power years. That shift. This is one of the shifts that you see when you say yes to your power years. You stop managing other people's comfort. It's no longer about making sure that everyone else is okay. It may be still a part of what you do, but now you're also pulling in the fact, pulling in the knowledge, pulling in the realization that you have got to do something to honor your own call if you're going to make these power years be as powerful as they can be. Because something changes when you say yes to those power years. The energy you've kind of been spending, on making sure everyone else is straight, everyone around you is okay. You start redirecting it toward what you're building. That is so important, not because you're being selfish, but because you're being intentional about the change that you want to bring about. You stop shrinking so that others stay comfortable and you start taking up the space where you were always meant to be, the space you were always meant to occupy. All right. So that's one thing that happens on the other side of the shift. What's something else? Well, your decisions. You may have been a little cloudy before, but on the other side of the shift, your decisions really do get faster and a little cleaner. You know when you know who it is, or when you are moving in a certain direction, when you know who you are and where you're going, the decisions get a little easier. Sometimes what definitely happens is there is a stronger likelihood that they no longer paralyze you. They become a little more simple. You look at things and you start to think and you start to ask questions like, does this really align with who I am? Does this align with who I'm becoming? Or am I aligning with what I used to do, where I used to be? Things get a little clearer when you decide, okay, I'm going to make that change. The clarity that comes from, doing your identity work is one of the most practical gifts of your power year. I talk about that whole realization piece of it. And that's huge because in order to make the shift, you've got to know where you are, know what needs to be released, know what you need to rebuild. And all of that needs to occur so that you can rise. So you become clearer, you become more intentional, you realize that all that energy that you were giving and putting everybody else straight and helping everyone else to be and do the things that they need to do, you need to be a little more intentional about what it is that you need to do so you can get where it is that you want to go. All right. What else happens when you move, when you make that shift, when you decide to move on it? Well, you start attracting the right people and you start releasing the wrong ones. This is the part of the process that definitely gets a little difficult for some people, particularly if you see that you've got to start releasing some people, releasing some habits, releasing some things that have really been an intricate part of your growing into where you were, that have really been an intricate piece of your life that has been there for you, that has been, a part of what helped to develop all that you developed. It's not totally, or it's not always totally necessary to leave those things behind, but sometimes it is when it is blatantly aware that it is not profiting you, that it's really not helping you in any way, but serving to hinder you. All right. So then what begins to happen is you start to attract like minded people into your circles. People that, how your mom always used to say, you are the company that you keep. Well, that, what sometimes apply to some people. There are others out there who, may not necessarily always be in the right or the right company, but they are the bright light in that company and helping to make others realize that they need to move towards the shine. But the point I'm trying to make is you have decided that you're going to do things differently. There are some things, some people that you may leave behind or have to move away from. However, you'll start to notice that you are definitely moving amongst a different circle. You are attracting a different circle, the right people, okay, who need to help you to get to where it is that you go. And I know for some, this is a real surprise and it's uncomfortable, like I said. But when you step into those power years, you're doing it authentically. Authentically, you are being who you are. Authentically, you are adhering to those values, to the mission, to the vision that you desire or that you have put in place. So, because of that, your circle really does shift a bit. The relationships that may have been built on, that old version, they kind of start to fall away. And that's okay because, like I said, the new relationships are definitely going to develop. The new collect connections are going to show up, and you're going to move in a different way because of the people that you are associating with and the people who are starting to merge into your life who are going to help you to be better, to do better. What else happens on the other side of that shift? Your past becomes your power instead of your pain. That's major. I always talk about the importance of plugging into your journey and plugging into all of your experiences, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and taking from them what you need in order to get to that better version of you, to get to that better life. And let's face it, there are some things that are in our past that aren't feel good things. They do cause pain. But what you really start to embrace is the fact that it is important to plug into that journey. And that journey means, or plugging into that journey means, you've got to be able to sit with what has happened and move from it and grow from it, learn from it, act because of it. That is a major piece of what we're talking about. So you kind of start a new shift, even in that piece of the shift that has occurred, because you are realizing that that pain that was once perhaps totally taking over and perhaps causing you to sit back and not move, you use that to fuel you to do what it is that you desire to do. What else? The last thing, the fifth thing I want to tell you about is you stop waiting for permission and you start giving it to yourself. You realize that there is absolutely no reason for you to get permission to prioritize your vision, your goals, and your mission because they are yours. And no one should have rule or reign over how it is that you move to accomplish the things that you desire to do in your life. You are the authority. You are the authority on determining where you go and how you get there. You determine the people that are going to help you, the processes, the places, the training, whatever it is. The ball is in your court to determine that. And you realize that you don't need permission from anyone to do it. That is probably the biggest shift of all that happens on the other side of finally walking in your power years. So here's what I want to leave you with because we've just talked about five things, right? Five things that are going to happen when you get on the other side of this shift. You're going to be a different person. There may be some things that you have to leave behind. Things are going to be different because you are moving in a different way. The shift does not happen by accident. You've got to be intentional. You're knowledgeable of what it is that you want to do. And it happens when you decide you're going to do the work. You're going to put in the time, you're going to put in the effort. When you give yourself a real framework to work with, and a community and a room full, like I said earlier, of like-minded people who are doing the same thing at the same time, who feel the same pains that you do, who feel the same growth stumbling that you do, who feels the same inclination not to give up or not to let go of some things that have been holding them back. So, coming in a couple of weeks, we're going to do a mastermind. And this mastermind is telling you, even in the title, what we're going to focus on. And what is it? Your power years are calling, because they are. It's a free masterclass happening next, actually 2 weeks from now. It's going to be on June 18th. What I want you to do is to head on over to the Facebook group, the Journey Society, because there is where we're going to be dropping the registration link for this session. Why is it I'm trying to get you to go over to the Journey Society and register? Well, because community is a huge piece of what's needed for us to advance with the model that I have, with the model that has been proven to give solution, that has been proven to be the answer for so many people. And I want you to be a part of a community that's going to start this thing right from the beginning and be with one another throughout the entire process. It's absolutely free to be a part of the community. Even if you decide later not to be a part of the masterclass or anything else that we're doing, it is still beneficial for you to be a part of the Journey Society. And why is that? Well, it is because we put things in there. We provide resources that are going to help you no matter what stage you're in, no matter if you do this master class or not. You're going to have access to free resources that are definitely going to help you to grow. So I want you again to go on over, make sure that you join that group so that you will be in there when we drop the link. All right. When we put the link in there to join the masterclass, which is absolutely free. I want you to make sure that you come prepared to work. First of all, come, and then come prepared to work, because we will be working. We will start to introduce or start this process for you so that you can see what it feels like to actually initiate change, perhaps for some things that you just didn't think that you were going to be able to initiate change for. All right. So definitely go over and join the Journey Society. Get ready. Your power years are calling, and I'm going to help you to jump into those and to prosper while you do so, as you do so, and identify what it is that you need to do in order to get the things that you have been trying to achieve, the things that you have been perhaps questioning, the change that you need to move from that midstream of where you have been up till now and to move into your growth and your thriving years. All right, that is it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, you can watch this. It will be up on YouTube under the Jolise channel, and make sure that you go over and you listen to the Leveling Up the podcast that we have on the CTR Media and all of your favorite streaming platforms. All right. That's it. Go out and be yourself. Be authentically you. You're the best version of you that there is out there. Touch something, because you have a solution that's good for you and that is certainly good for someone else. And you have an obligation to share that. Do all that you can in this season with all that is going on in our environment, in our ecosystem, in the world, period. Do all that you can to achieve the life that you are destined to have, one that thrives. And make sure in whatever you do, you focus in on your health, your wellness, your dreams, your vision, all the things that matter. And until I see you again, make sure that you do all that you can.
Mm, New day. New day, new way. Turn it up, leaning 15 minutes, let the change begin. Busy life, big dreams, so much noise in your ears.